Hello again. Here I am talking about the yes or no possible answers to some big questions. Today's question is should I go to university? And since I've spent about half my life in the UK and half my life in the US, I'll try not to make any generalization mistakes between the two. As we all know, there are some obvious differences between university experience in the US and the UK. The US takes 4 years generally undergraduate versus 3 in the UK. US universities tend to be a lot more expensive, although it's more common over there for students to work to help defray their expenses. Sport is enormous in the US, where it's in UK universities less so, in many cases just an afterthought. But I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say you can get a very good education in both countries, so that's really not what's at issue here. Furthermore, I think the arguments that I'd like to offer here on both sides of this question apply equally well to universities in both countries, and for that matter on the continent of Europe as well. So, what are the yes reasons for wanting to go to university? Well, number one, I guess it's certainly expected that you will in your career earn more money if you have a university degree. The question of whether it's a good investment or not, because it's pretty expensive, is a separate one, and one that is much debated. But you will, if you get through it, you'll probably earn more money. The second one is there, of course, is social prestige that comes with having a university degree, but not in all social circles. But by and large, it's a kind of stamp on your CV and on your position in the community that you are a more serious, more accomplished person if you have a university degree. That may sound insulting to some, but my guess is it's probably true. A third one has to do with the payoff from being challenged intellectually, being able to defend a point of view, being required to write essays, in general to use your brains in a critical sort of way, making a case for a particular view of life. And if you do a good job of it, that will, I think, considerably improve your ability to get along in the world afterward. And four, not an inconsiderable reason for going to university, is that many 18 and 19-year-olds simply want to get out of the house. They want to get away from home. It's a rite of passage. I know it certainly applied to me. I had the choice, in my case, of going to university in my hometown versus going to one at some distance. And a big consideration on my part was that although my home was a happy one and I was very cared for and so forth, I really wanted to get out of my own and, to be honest, have some fun. Okay, I think those are among the principal reasons, but there are some negatives as well. The first one is that, well, to be quite tough about it, the success that we speak of in university really tends to apply to the kind of people who finish university. They probably would have been a success anyway. They had the kind of upbringing, the kind of pressure from home, the kind of value systems that were more focused on accomplishment and getting ahead and so forth. So therefore, to simply compare salary levels or something between having gone to university and not is probably unfair. The second argument is, well, there's some pretty smart, capable, successful people who didn't go to university or who dropped out. People like Michael Dell of Dell Computer, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs from Apple, people like that. So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it, although those are the sorts of people who got into university in the first place and probably would have succeeded no matter what they did. Number three is it's terrifically expensive and getting more so. The difficulties of keeping universities full hasn't quite caught up with many of them yet. It's a market where where supply and demand has, until recent years, I think, favored the supply side. The demand side, the bargaining power of consumers, of course, may change, particularly in the aftermath of this coronavirus. Well, a fourth reason for not doing it is that there are increasingly, particularly because of technology, many viable alternatives. You can get most educational experience, certainly information and insight into particular areas online, much of it for free, or certainly at a more reasonable price than you would be prepared to pay from going to university. There's also the economic advantage that much online and non-attending a campus type education can be done part-time while you're working and earning money. So the economic arguments are somewhat questionable. Well, what is my take on this? I'm afraid I don't have very firm advice on this, because as I was looking into this subject, I was amazed at how complicated it was. The number of considerations are high, and the complexity of the arguments the same. One would think that if one was just looking at it from a financial and economic point of view, the clever thing to do would be to take a look to see which jobs pay the most and which ones are hiring, and then focus your attention on that. I don't think it's quite as simple as that, because of course things can change in a very short length of time. In one book I was reading about this, they cited the case of petroleum engineers in the US. So that was really a great job to have, one that you could make a lot of money on, and a lot of people piled into studying to be petroleum engineers. And then oil exploration, for one reason or another, in the oil cycle, energy cycle, stopped, and those people couldn't find a job. And then, of course, when fracking started, there was another resurgence in the demand for petroleum engineers. The difficulty with all of this is there's quite a time lag between deciding on a course of action and then when you can finally exploit it. So I guess my advice on this subject and my take on it is going to be really generic. It is this: talk to everybody you can about the question itself, whether it's a good idea, whether it's financially viable. People who know you and know what your ability and mentality is, your attitude toward work, will probably give you some insights into this. Talk to people in the industries or sectors that you're particularly interested in, and find out how important a university education was for them. And beyond that, well, the very best of luck. It's a tough decision, an important one, probably one of the biggest you'll ever make financially, other than buying a house. So good luck. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. It's certainly a tough subject. And if you did like it, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.